Thank you all. Thank you for attending our MoxiWorks hours. This session is going to be on Moxie Present Essentials. Also, we're going to be talking about my value proposition and also a little quick tip on Moxie Present. So really quick, for those of you who are first timers, this is our team, our MoxiWorks engagement team comprised of people from corporate, Realogy, as well as from MoxiWorks themselves. So my name is Alex Castro. I'll be your host today and joined with Angie Myers, who is also on the call. Say hello, Angie, if you would.
Hello.
And then we have Brett, who's BRB. I'm not sure if Brett is back already. Brett, are
I
you
am
here?
here.
Brett is back.
When somebody
And-
needs to mute.
Yeah, let's see if we can mute. And then Angie, I also gave you and Brett co-hosts, so you may be able to mute anybody that, so they can minimize the background noise.
You may
Brett-
have to give it to me again because it booted me and I had to come back in.
Okay, so Brett is
I've
our
got it.
subject.
There you go.
Brett is our SME or subject matter expert, so he's going to be providing you with some really cool knowledge regarding the platform. And just a few housekeeping items. This session is being recorded, so anything that you type in chat is also going to be recorded. Anybody who registers for this session will get a recording link as well as any supporting documentation that we discuss or that kind of supports anything that we talk about today. So if you do have a question, feel free to type that into chat. Address it to everyone unless it's a specific question that you want to ask in private to either Angie, myself, or Brett. Otherwise, send it to everyone so that everybody we can reply to everyone and everybody can see that answer or that response. Alternatively, you may want to choose to ask your question live at the end of the session. In that case, make sure you jot it down so you don't forget your question. And keep in mind, right, this session, although we kind of started kind of before this session regarding issues or tickets or open items, things like that, this session is meant to give you information, right? Not so much to troubleshoot. There's another time and place for that. And we're going to talk about support. Certainly very, very important. But we want to give you things so that you can strategically implement these products in your day-to-day business practice. All right, so just want to make sure that we're clear on that. And also, everybody, if you have a question, in addition to what I'm going to cover regarding support, Angie did populate that email. That is a team email. There's a number of us at corporate who maintain that email address, right? Where if you just have like simple questions regarding, especially about the process and your launch dates and training links and things like that, that is where you want to send it to. Okay, and just kind of simple questions. If you want to add a product champion, if you will, that's that email that you want to use, send emails to. All right, so here's our agenda today. So we're going to quickly go over high level for those first timers, supporting your MoxiWorks journey, all the resources that are available to you, where you want to go for help. We're going to have a quick tip on MoxiPresent. Some of you attended our session a couple weeks ago. I think I'm going to show you kind of the end result. And I think Brett also wants to share something as well on the quick tip for today. And 15 minutes of MoxiWorks. Brett is going to go into value proposition and how the MoxiWorks platform can help you with your value proposition in terms of garnering new customers, leads, and that sort of thing. Questions and answers. We're going to reserve the final 5-10 minutes for any questions that you would like to ask live. So right now we have everybody muted. Again, use the chat. Also, at the end of our call, we'll reserve some time where you can unmute and ask your questions live, all right? Regarding the process, the launch process, regarding any of the products, that's fine too. Everything's fair game. Just keep in mind, we're not here to troubleshoot like issues. And, if you do have a question, feel free to ask at that time. We encourage that, okay? Because I think a lot of people who attend this call want that live interaction with somebody who's actually there to answer and knowledgeable that can answer that question. Why this all matters, why should you be attending these MoxiWorks hours? This session is geared towards everybody at your office, right? The broker owner, the product champion, the manager, the recruiters, the trainers, marketing, certainly the agents, right? To provide you with some information that should be able to let you become more familiar with the products. We know that the MoxiWorks platform is a beast of a product, right? It's got so many components, and within each component, so many features. Okay, so here in future calls, you're gonna hear from experts where people who actually use the product on what they do to increase their production, specifically with these particular products in MoxiWorks. And also, we're going to ensure that you're well educated on all the tools, all the resources to help support you and your companies. Okay, so support is huge. We mentioned before the session started, do you have a ticket number? That ticket number is key. So you go to support.moxiworks.com to submit a ticket. It's in the upper right-hand side of that screen. You don't need a login to access this particular page. We also call this the success portal. Upper right-hand side, submit a ticket. Okay. Alternatively, you have in product assistance where you have a Autobot at the bottom right-hand side, red button that says help. Click on that, type in whatever topic that you'd like to get more information on, and there's going to be a lot of resources available to you or presented to you at that time. This is key. Big pro tip, best practice. When you call for support, and we do have a document here that tells you kind of the protocol for MoxiWorks support, but here is the key, right? For you product champions who are on this call, for you agents who are on this call, you want to pay attention to this particular screen, right? Moral of the story is the more information you give support, most likely the faster resolution that you're going to receive. Does that make sense? Those of you who haven't visited the success portal lately, there are, right, we're getting more information up front. So there's a support request, there's product issue report, and a feature request. So 3 different flavors, if you will, when you go to support.moxiworks.com. Basically, right, for support requests, to request help on how to use the products. Product issue, right? Reporting something is not working correctly. Okay, this makes sense. So you could categorize where your issue falls. Feature request, right? Submit a ticket requesting new feature, functionality, improvements. Now, here's a key also that everybody on the call should take note of. Include screenshots. Include a video recording of the sequence of events to take you to that problem area, if you will. The more information you provide to support, you can attach these recordings, you can attach these screenshots, right? The faster resolution possible when you provide more information. Because before, we used to have people who reported an issue, there's a problem with MoxiPresent, and that's it. Okay. Now, if you're a support person, you can kind of guess how, like, oh gosh, what goes through your mind, like, oh my gosh, it's going to take forever to kind of get down to the root of the problem. All right. So hopefully everybody has that. And if you have questions regarding that, please type in chat, right? Support.moxiworks.com. Hopefully everybody is able to access that and use that and memorize that. There's industry-wide case studies, right? Articles, tips, tricks, quick reference guides, videos, you name it. And this is the MoxiWorks suite. All of you have seen this slide. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but there is a lot within every product. So much so that some agents are going to be overwhelmed with the content that we deliver on a bi-weekly basis. But if you take it in bite-sized quantities, hopefully that's what we're giving you in these 15 minutes of Moxie, that's when you're able to digest it. And a consistency of every other week of these products hopefully gives you enough information to kind of get through to the next level and incorporate this into your day-to-day business practice. Okay, so I think maybe next week, Brad, I'm not sure if we're going to be covering Moxie websites pretty soon, because more people are now onto the platform.
Yeah, I'd have to double check, but I believe we're going to start Engage next week.
Yeah, actually 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks.
So
Okay,
be on
great.
the lookout for that. But hopefully you all are close to mastering MoxiPresent, Moxie Impress, right? The marketing pack. So we know that there's a lot of information in each one of these components of the product suite. And that's why we are going to give you a quick tip, 15 minutes of Moxie Works, so that you can take this product to the next level and feel more and more comfortable every time that you meet with us. So Brett, did you want to show anything for quick tip? Because I wanted to also show those of you who may have participated or attended our session 2 weeks ago on MoxiPresent. I want to show you kind of a quick review because there was a lot of information that hopefully a lot of you found useful, and I want to show you kind of the end result. But Brett, did you want to show anything on MoxiPresent, a quick tip this week?
Sure, I can. I wasn't sure if Angie had one she wanted to share, but I'm happy to share one as well. So Angie, did you have one as well, or is it just me?
Well, quick tip for MoxiPresent. I probably don't need to share my screen for it. And Brett, you can also share something if you want. I did have a lot of questions when I was away the past couple weeks, and that was how do you text? And I think we've gone over it before, but somebody might have missed it. So there isn't a button in MoxiPresent that says, let me text my presentation to my client. But if you were to open the web preview, you can get that URL. I usually just email it to myself, or if I'm on my phone, when I open it, it's really easy to copy that URL, and you're able to paste that in and text that really to anybody that you want. You can email it, you can text it. I've had agents send it via Facebook Messenger just because they know that's how they communicate with their person. So there is the capability there, although there's not a button per se. In Present, we do have the capability, and because it's mobile optimized, that's the other nice thing, is they can open that up on their phone and check it out.
Great. Well, I'll go ahead and share my screen. My quick tip actually comes from last week because myself and Alex and Angie were at 121, and I had a broker ask a question regarding brokerage shared presentations and templates and kind of what's the difference. So I'm going to share my screen to make sure that we talk about this quickly so that we can kind of drill down and make sure what the difference is. So right now you're seeing my MoxiPresent screen. What these are I'm under the brokerage presentations. So these are brokerage presentations that were created by various team members that they've elected to share with me so that I can use them as well. You can see also there's a Teams presentation. So if you're on a team, you can share presentations. Where a lot of people are getting confused when they first get into the system, they'll see, oh, well, I don't have any brokerage presentations. I thought I was getting things from the brand. Actually, sometimes you do, it depends on the brand. Well, what this person had, and what I think a lot of folks are going to run into, is when you go to create a presentation, these are presentations, these brokerage presentations, those are typically static presentations. So information about a certain market area or pardon me, not a market area, a certain information about like our brand value prop, or here's what we do for charities and things that don't change, that don't have to have agent information in it. It's more or less a brokerage resource. Like here's why to list and sell with my brokerage. What you're going to have more of are templates. So when you go into create new, and this is something I usually gloss past when I'm doing a demo, but I want to make sure you guys see this. If I click on seller and hit continue, you can see that I have different areas. I have my templates that I've created, which I've created a couple you can see. And then there's also brokerage templates. So these are going to be like, for example, here's a brokerage template using some Sotheby's International Realty. Here's one that's a pre-listing package. So these are templates. So anything that the brand may be sending you down, if you're not seeing it under brokerage presentations, check under templates, because that's where a lot of them are populating. So if you're the brand champion or a broker and you want to create, what do our actual listing packages look like that have information about our brokerage? What you're probably going to want to do is go in here and create using a template. but there was a lot of confusion about that. So I wanted to make sure and highlight that for the quick tip. And then I've got a longer bit of tips regarding how to boost your value prop coming up later. But that is my quick tip for today, is where to find brokerage templates and the difference between a brokerage template and a brokerage presentation. Alex, back to you.
Thank you, Brett. That was fantastic. Hopefully the leaf blower is not causing too much noise in the background here. I'm gonna quickly show a quick tip as well. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Create a custom page. Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay, so just wanted to kind of back up from 2 weeks ago. This is MoxiPresent, and I just wanted to show because I think what was part of our agenda is to show reviews in MoxiPresent. So some of you have utilized Real Satisfied or some other platform. So if you could see this page 4 of 30, this is the end result of a MoxiPresent presentation, right? This is what you have emailed your customer, buyer, seller, prospect, yes? So what I've done in our example 2 weeks ago is I took that link of my Real Satisfied, and it could be any other platform that you have, and I created a custom page within MoxiPresent. Does that make sense? So of my CMA or of my buyer tour, one of the pages that I wanted to feature is my reviews of my past customers. Yes? So why not have the customers speak on my behalf? This presentation, when you're sending it in a web version versus a PDF file, right? This is live information. So when they're scrolling through this presentation that you emailed them, right, you're able to go to this particular Real Satisfied platform as if they were on that website. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? So basically, you keep them in your presentation as a page, in this case, 1 page out of 30-page document is my Real Satisfied reviews. And I'm just using this as an example. Does that
Alex,
make
this
sense?
is Patchwiger.
Yes.
Question. Is
Yes.
Real Satisfied a part of the Moxie suite, or is that a separate entity that ties into the suite?
Yes, Real Satisfied, separate platform, separate everything. I'm just showing you an example of one review or testimonial type platform that other agents, companies use, and integrating that as part of a page in a MoxiPresent presentation. That's all I wanted to do, to show the power, the flexibility. Some of you have been using Zap.
Yes.
Yes? Here
Yes.
is another page in my 30-page web presentation that's live that shows my Zap website as a page within my presentation. And if you can see it, it's live. Make sense? This is like your Zap website within a page of your MoxiPresent presentation. Does that make sense? Why not include it?
Will we be able to do that with our websites in Moxie?
You can do this with your websites in Moxie, because look at this example. Hold on, one more. Here is there's a YouTube video. I think I have one. I'm not sure where it's at. Where's the Real Satisfied review?
So Alex, while you're looking for that, there's a question in the chat that they want to know the difference between a link and embedding the code. So this, I believe, you used an iframe. Did you?
Yeah,
use an
yeah, and I'm
iframe
going to
for
show
that?
you that. And so, I'll show you that real quick, and then we're going to give Brett his 15 minutes of MoxiWorks. But this example right here, this is a Moxie website, if you will. Make sense? So I embedded this website. This is not a Zap website. This is a MoxiWorks website. Does that make sense? And I just kind of like anything else, I pretty much can add via iframe this page, like a Zap page, like a Real Satisfied page, like a Google Maps video, a YouTube video, things like that. Does that make sense? And guess what? My customer's still in this presentation that Caitlin sent me, right? That's the account that we're using here. Does that make sense? So I just wanted to show you, this is what we created 2 weeks ago. So if you want that recording and you weren't on the registration list, this is what we covered, right? Here's a Matterport embedded 3D virtual tour embedded within my MoxiPresent presentation. Does that make sense? It's live, it's not just a picture, right? So you get that dollhouse view. Guess what, right? This is pretend, right? This is a buyer tour that you are giving or sending to your buyer prospect, and you give them this virtual tour within that document, if you will, that web document that has all the driving directions and, you know, the property information and description, right? Keep in mind, I'm not anywhere except within my presentation. Okay, so how did I do all this, right? Just kind of back up. It's in this source, right? I'm in MoxiPresent, and here's that secret sauce, so to speak, that source button. Click, and then here is highlighted the link that everybody would get, like from YouTube, from Zap, from your Moxie website URL. And then the other stuff is what we call iframe. And then I don't know anything about HTML. I'm not a programmer, but I just copied from another iframe. Like YouTube already embeds it within an iframe, you know, all this code. And then you can kind of adjust the parameters like the height and the width and all that to make it size appropriately. Okay, so I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I just wanted to show you, this is what we covered 2 weeks ago. Now you see the end result, and hopefully that kind of gets the wheels turning in your with your respective businesses, that, oh my gosh, I can include all sorts of cool things within my presentation to make it custom. And this is in addition to what your brand is providing you with as well, because they're going to have all kinds of other cool pages and templates available to you. Any questions, feel free to put that in chat. And so hopefully that makes sense to you all. Here is kind of like the source again, right? I'm working on it. And then, right, this is what the customer sees, that presentation. So if you can just imagine, right, the power of just this one tool, MoxiPresent, amazing stuff, right? It's incorporating all this, what we call rich media. And of course, you want to send your customers that web-enabled version versus maybe that old school way of sending them a PDF file. That PDF file is not going to give you this Matterport tour or that Zap website or your MoxieWorks website embedded into your presentation. Make sense? If you have questions, you can ask at the end or put it in chat. So sorry, Brett, if I took too much time on that.
You did not. You are good, and I appreciate you showing those. So
Right.
let's go ahead and get into our 15 minutes. If you'd be
Yep.
so kind to pull up that deck for us.
Yeah, I'm going to new share and let's see. Does everybody see my screen?
And just as a clarification to Angie's comment about you can share any live website in an iframe, there are some websites that the security settings, for whatever reason, won't let you do it. The vast majority you're allowed to, but there are some that you cannot pick. But just a quick point of clarification there. But let's go ahead and hop into 50 minutes of MoxiWorks, my value proposition. So go ahead and let's get started. Next slide, please, sir. All right, so in these sessions, we talk a lot about all the different things that you can do in terms of a task perspective. I can create a buyer presentation. I can create a seller presentation. But what we want to talk about a little bit today is more or less the value prop, and taking kind of a broader view of how you can stand out and the crowd. So this is an exercise I love to do with when I'm out speaking, is I'll ask the audience, and I'll ask you guys, and just put your answers in the chat. How many realtors are a member of your local MLS that you use? Just go ahead and put it in the chat. If you're not sure, take a guess. But I'm always fascinated to see. We've got 6,000 for one, 1,800, 2,800, 2,700. So thousands. We're talking about thousands of folks. Now, what I'll ask these crowds is, well, let me ask you another question. How many CPAs are there in your market? How many dentists are there in your market, or general practitioners, family doctors in your market? Now, these are people that people have to see every year. You're always getting your taxes done. You're always going to the doctor or the dentist. I would be willing to bet that there's not 6,000 dentists in your market or 2,800 CPAs in your market, right? So it's super important that you are able to somehow stand out from that crowd, particularly in these busy times and busy markets, where sellers can be choosy who they list with. Buyers have lots of options of who they want to work with. So we're going to talk about some different ways that you can kind of cut through that noise and do what's the key to success in a lot of different areas in real estate. It's I'm willing to do what other people don't do. So we're going to talk about how you can build trust with testimonials, how you can make your presentations more human. I'm not a big fan. I always called them listing consultations. A presentation is I sit in front of you like this and talk at you for amount of time and tell you how great I am. A consultation is a far different thing. So we talk about that kind of thing. We're going to talk about how to create pre-listing or pre-buyer packages, and then how to create explainer videos and why they're better than a blog. So let's go ahead and head on to the next slide, if you'd be so kind, sir. So building trust with testimonials is super important. You can see here that we've got a clip of a testimonial video, and there's a phrase that I use a lot, and you've probably heard me say it, but I'll say it again. It's one thing to tell everybody how great you are. Real estate agents are great at this, especially this time of year. It seems like everybody's winning an award from this app or this website, or I'm one of the top 100 agents in my market, as determined by my mother, that type of stuff. Well, it's quite another to inspire others to want to tell everybody how great you are. And so really, I think that's the goal. And so one great way you could do that is using video to put a new spin on these testimonials, right? Show clips like client interviews, just basically sit there with your iPhone and say, hey, I know that before we worked together, you had fears about this and this. How did it go for you? And just get them to talk naturally about what it was like to work with you, what their experience was like. Because for me on the other side, if I'm thinking about using you, hearing a testimonial straight from a past client is super valuable, especially let's say I'm a first-time home buyer. Well, if you've got 2 or 3 testimonials from a first-time home buyers who said, "How it was so great. They connected me with a mortgage person, with mortgage people. I got pre-qualified. They walked me through every step of the process." That is super powerful, right? And if you don't have a ton of past clients to do that with yet, the other thing you could do is interview your sphere in terms of collaborators, right? Interview mortgage lenders or home inspectors and other people that your industry that you've worked with, and say, hey, let them share why working with you is beneficial. Hey, I've done a lot of mortgages for this agent. She's always fantastic. I always get everything I need on time, et cetera. So it's a great way to really kind of take your stuff up. And of course, we know live video, rich media is far better than just having kind of text that people can read. I usually try to have both, but I think the videos are super easy to use within Moxie. So let's go ahead and head on to the next slide, if you'd be so kind. Let's talk about humanizing presentations. And this was something that I talked about earlier. Personalized videos, if you didn't know, are 35% more likely to retain viewers as compared to a non-personalized videos. That was a study that HubSpot did. So remembering this and remembering that for a truly effective presentation, you want to have knowledge about the party you're presenting to that goes beyond whether they're a buyer or a seller, right? So personalization is a huge technique that you can use to make sure that what you send resonates with the viewer, right? Where do we get this? Well, really just start with information that you get from that prospect. Are they single or married? How many people are buying the house? Do they have kids? Are they new to the area and moving locally? Because they're going to have different needs and different wants depending on what, if they have kids that are school age, they're going to want to know about the school districts. If it's somebody that's open, the move up buyer, or somebody that the kids are out of the house, they might not be as concerned, right? So if they're a seller, ask questions. Do they already have that new home identified, or are they going to need help on the buying side? Even if they're moving to a market you don't serve, do you know an agent there that you can get a referral out of it, right? So just through these initial interactions, you can get a lot of this information, right? You don't want to cross the line and just sit there and ask them a barrage of questions. I mean, if you have an intake form, that's one thing, but sitting there just, it's much more effective if it comes out naturally. And the cool thing about personalization is you can use this to your advantage when you're using videos for marketing. So for example, I could create a video that says, when working with first-time home buyers, I like to do this and this and this. Or I can create a video and say, hey, I appreciate your time. I know that we were discussing kind of like what it's like for a first-time home buyer in these markets. So I thought I'd just create a quick video to show you what that is like. Now I'm talking to the viewer. I'm not mentioning a name. So I could send that to 10, 15 people, but it feels personal because they're talking to me instead of at me. To your point, Colleen asked a question about how it meshes with Engage. This is fantastic to be able to use content in Engage to bring in contacts to send marketing to. You can create video links that you can send in Engage campaigns. So there's lots of different ways that you can cross promote them. If I'm looking at a client and their client card in Engage, and they have an address in there, and I want to click on create a seller presentation, will automatically bring that data in. So there's a lot of cross functionality in that again, you can use to make it more human and more personalized. So let's go ahead and head on to the next screen.
If I could add something to that, Brett.
Yeah, go ahead.
We were at one of our brand conferences, and I think one of the top producers was on stage, and he said that he doesn't say anything until he gets through his series of 10 questions.
Mm-hmm.
Although, right, you don't want to sound like a barrage of questions like Brett mentioned, but to get the needs of the customers, their motivation, what their likes and dislikes, and what their interests are, that goes a long ways, because you can use that information. Let's say that person's a golfer. He or she is going to appreciate that golf rich media video showing all the 5 top courses and that area that is in part of your service market area.
Oh, for sure. And if you think about it too, I mean, I remember one of my old agents when I was running brokerages came in one day and said, oh my gosh, I got this listing. There was 3 other people going for it. I said, well, what do you think was different? He said, well, the seller told me when I got there, the first thing we did was walk around the house and look at everything. And I asked a bunch of questions. And so when I started in on the spiel, he said, oh, no, it's not necessary. We're going to list with you. And when I asked why, I said, because you're the only person that asked questions. You're the only person that was asking why we're moving, right? And what we wanted to accomplish. Everybody else just came in with like a presentation and they talked at us about how much they sell. And here's how much I think your house is worth without ever even walking through it. So to your point, because Moxie can work on the fly, you can actually have your presentation and edit it while you're walking through the house, right? You can edit a net sheet, et cetera. So it really does help to make it more human.
And getting back to that value proposition, I think to differentiate yourself from the competition, right? To make those presentations human, like Brett is mentioning, but also unique and tailored to that particular buyer, that particular customer, right? 100%. So I just want to make sure that that's crystal clear with everybody, because, right, with MoxiPresent, you don't want, like, of course, we got the templates that makes it easy to create, but certainly all the rich media that you can add to customize this to that particular buyer, that particular seller, so that you are above the crowd, right? You are kind of separate from the competition. Sorry, Brett, I'm talking too much. Go ahead.
No, you're not at all. Everything's fine. So great. So appreciate that. Let's go ahead and talk about next how to continue to kind of make this conversation human before we get into this slide. So I just wanted to quickly add, where do you get information from, right? If you're unfamiliar, well, the internet, right? So social media can be obviously a treasure trove of presentation information. You can look at LinkedIn and you can find out what industry are they in, what do they do, what kind of job maybe are they looking for, how long have they been in a certain area. If you have somebody that has a Facebook or a Twitter profile, you can learn a little bit about what they like. Are they an outdoors buff? You can show off locations of scenic attractions. Do they love to read? Whatever it may be, entertainment media. Now, you don't have to be creepy about it and say, well, I was stalking your profile and I saw this and this and this, but you can say, look, I happen to notice on your Twitter account that you tweet about the Gators a lot, or you're a college football fan, and then you could talk about that, whatever it may be. So again, just easy ways to get some information. But let's go ahead and talk about that next slide about the pre-listing presentation, right? This is something that I think most agents should have, a lot of agents don't have, but we're really wanting to educate our prospect on a couple different things. Obviously, who are we? Why are we that right choice? Why should they pick us and not any of the other 5,000 realtors? How does my brokerage empower me to help them through the transaction, right? How am I going to market their property? What tools am I going to use to help them, sell the house or find the right house if they want to buy? And then obviously a call to action, right? But instead of just kind of having that generic about me overview, that list of bullet points, I've seen some really great bio videos that people do. And these aren't super long. It's basically, hi, my name is Brett Coltharp. I appreciate your time. I want to tell you a little bit about what it's like to work with me in real estate. And you can weave in some testimonials and whatever. But if you're doing it with a video, it's the reason why products like BombBomb are so popular, is because it helps to begin that bond. It helps to begin that process where we're going to come together and work well together, right? And it lets my personality shine through. A lot of times people, again, when you have a glut of agents to use, it's not always about, well, this person sold 26 homes and this person sold 20. It's just, what do you like? I'm going to be working with you hand in hand for, 3 months. I want to make sure I like you, right? The other part about it, and why there's not a ton of bullet points on these slides, is there's been different studies, and the last study I saw, which was from Incivia, showed that people who watch a video message retain that video message. They retain 95% of it. Whereas when it comes to reading it in the text, it's closer to 10 to 15%. So if it's great information, sending videos for this kind of stuff helps. And so what's a great way to use these is to basically pre-create them, which let's go to the next slide. I don't know if there's a different slide coming up next, because, okay, great. Let's go back to the back one. I apologize. Sorry, I've seen various versions of this deck. So if we go back to the pre-listing presentations a little bit more, or pre-buyer presentation, either one works the same. You're literally showing these folks that you're human and that you care and that you're with them every step of the way. And so, you can have stats about you. Here's my current listings, whatever it may be. Now, here's the pro tip. If you create basically one presentation that works for buyers or sellers, I always suggest you create it as a link that's the first thing after your name and your brokerage and your email signature, right? With the rest of your contact information. Having links to testimonials or case studies or whatever it may be, it having perhaps a little call to action, your email signature, that it's super casual, but it's something a prospect could see. Hey, see what our clients say about working with us. They click on that, they have that. The other alternative is if you've got a buyer consultation or a seller consultation, make sure you have those links on your phone so that if you're out somewhere, you can be like, hey, what's your cell phone number? I'll go ahead and I'll send you something. And you can send it right there from your phone. Just copy and paste in that link from your notepad or whatever it may be, app on your phone. Open houses. Hey, let me text you some information. You capture their phone numbers. Super easy to use because you create those links. And then the other pro tip is for these pre-buyer or pre-seller presentations, make sure at the end you have put in the neighborhood news widget, which again, you go into preferences and Moxie Engage, you'll see where it will generate a widget, which is an embed code, just like what we were talking about. So if you put that widget in there, once you send that presentation, it could be anybody whose phone number they just gave you. At the end, it's, hey, you want to keep up to date with more real estate information? Give me your first name, last name, email address, and a zip code, and you're signed up. So now they're coming into my database with the full set of information, and we can really start marketing to them. So being able to get a lot of this out of the way ahead of time is great, because then when you're there with that person, guess who you don't have to talk about as much? You. Right? Because you've already sent them, here's what I've done. Here's great testimonials. Here's why I'm a rock star real estate agent. So now you can spend that time face to face with them, talking more about them, which is super important. So Alex, anything to add before I go on to the next slide and talk about explainer videos? I
I
think I
think
put
you're doing a
Al,
great job,
I
Brett.
think I put Alex to sleep.
No, no, I hear. I was on
I'm
mute.
kidding.
But yeah, I think the takeaway, right, is that with Moxie Present, right, there's just so many options that you have. Just you want to leverage it. The more comfortable you are of knowing all the features, definitely certainly can benefit your customers, right, and make you stand out. I mean, it's hopefully all this is resonating with everybody and can see clearly, like, oh my gosh, this is so powerful. It is, right? There's so much to it. But yeah, great job, Brett. Keep going.
All righty. Well, let's continue then and talk about explainer videos. So one of the nice things about MoxiWorks is that our websites are built on a WordPress framework, one of the most stable website frameworks out there. Lots of Fortune 500 companies use WordPress sites, including Disney, Mercedes-Benz, other companies like that. But they're also very well known for being basically ground zero for blogs. So if you are somebody who likes to write, or blogs are still fantastic. They're still Google juice. They're still great things to have on your site. Super easy to add them in MoxiWorks on the websites. But if you're not so much, I don't want to sit down and write. I'd rather just kind of talk and explain things. I'm a huge fan of explainer videos. These can be used in drip campaigns. These can be used in one-off messages. You put them on your YouTube channel. You can have them appear publicly or not. I always suggest have them appear publicly because the second largest search engine in the world after Google is YouTube, which of course Google owns. So how do we create content for these, right? Because I think when I talk to agents around the country, when I talk about a blog or this type of thing, the first thing is, well, I don't know what to write about. Well, here's the simple, easy, quick way to do that. Go on your social media platforms and share a post that says, hey, I'm curious. I want to make sure that I'm providing information that everybody's looking for. If you have 2 questions about real estate, perhaps one's about our local market, perhaps one just about the process. Maybe you haven't bought a home in a few years. What questions do you have about real estate that you would love to know an answer to, right? And hopefully you guys, like most agents, have hundreds, if not thousands of Facebook friends and Twitter followers and Instagram followers and LinkedIn, whatever it may be. If you share that on your platforms, take that, they're going to give you topics, and you can take those topics, kind of sort them out and say, okay, well, which ones are the most popular? And then you literally create a video with that question and then the answer. It's just that simple. So, for naming things, it should be for Google. If I'm going to do a video, what's the first time home buyer process like in 2022? That would be the name. And then it would have, what's the home buyer process in 2022? My name explains, or whatever it may be. And so you can create this video content, in an afternoon and sit there and they don't have to be perfect. In fact, they're often better when they're not. I remember when I was running a group in Vancouver, British Columbia, we actually had a green screen studio in our office. And when I sent out informational videos and recruiting videos using that looked more staged, our open rates weren't nearly as high as when I just held up my iPhone like I'm talking to my best friend on FaceTime and just recorded a quick video off the cuff, right? So it feels more personal. And again, you want to be talking to them as an audience, right? Don't just say, I get asked a lot, say, my friend Jenny asked me about this. Well, let me tell you what the answer is. And then you're literally talking at the camera. So great Google juice. Again, they'll retain that information. And what you're doing is you're basically showing that I can be your agent and your source of truth before I'm actually your agent, right? Because again, when we talk about people, newest stats are saying people are moving close to every 10 years now. It's actually getting a little bit longer. People are staying put. What do we need to do to market to them? Well, we need to consistently continue to provide value, but then we also want to make sure we're top of mind in case they have referrals. So they could say, if I'm talking to my best friend and they say, oh, yeah, I'm looking to buy a house actually. And I can say, well, you know what? I haven't bought a house in years, but I can tell you, I get these videos from this realtor who really seems to know their stuff, right? So great way to give people stuff that they can't just Google on their own, and really kind of show that you're the market experts. And the other thing is you're literally sitting there meeting them face to face through a video. So when you do first meet them in person, if they're local, it's not going to feel as awkward. Like they're going to feel like they kind of actually know you. The last thing I'll mention, because I always love to talk about pro tip on top of a tip. If you can create evergreen content, that's awesome, right? That's not tied to today. So if you talk about the home buyer process, maybe it's the same for a long time. Don't mention dates. Don't mention, specific interest rates, whatever it may be. Best practices work better because then you don't have to re-record it all the time. The other thing is from a study from Marketing Helpline shows that video posts on social media actually get 48% more views than a regular post. So again, great way to share, not only stay in touch with your sphere, but make these public videos so that perhaps it shows up in somebody comments on your post that I'm friends with, and now it's showing up in my feed. So great way to utilize the powerful video opportunities that are within MoxiPresent. So I believe that's the last slide, Alex. Let's double check. But if you have any questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat, and I'm happy to answer those. And I will turn it back over to Alex.
Perfect. Thank you, Brett. And just to kind of reiterate some of the topics that Brett touched upon regarding the videos, right? And just to clarify how it works, for those of you who may not be familiar with videos, it's as simple as using your iPhone or your Android, videotaping your customer that you just closed the transaction with, uploading that testimonial to YouTube. Once it's on YouTube, you're able to copy that URL or that link. Also in YouTube, you can actually, I think it's an embed button. That embed button in YouTube has the iframes that you can automatically plop into your MoxiPresent presentation, right? Remember that source button, that secret sauce source button, and then paste that, and then automatically that YouTube video of your customer that's a raving fan of you is going to be part of your buyer tour presentation, part of your CMA presentation, part of anything that you want to use going forward. Regarding Brett's comment about evergreen, just kind of to clarify what that means. Some people are like, okay, evergreen, he threw out a new term, right? Basically, when you're talking about something that deals with the holidays, you'll say Christmas holidays, right? Not so much evergreen, because if somebody's listening to it during the summertime, that's kind of old information, right? They know based on your reference in that video of, let's say, the holiday season, right? So just wanted to clarify that. All right. So thank you, Brett. Appreciate that. Angie, did you want to add anything to that?
Not really, but I do like your comment about putting things on YouTube, because we know that Google owns YouTube, so it gives you additional content and it does bring you up in the search. Plus, if you have that video, you can put it on your website.
Yes,
so I know we did have a
absolutely.
question in chat about speaking to the ways that present and engage kind of mesh together. But if I'm going to make that video to put into my presentation, it's giving me content then for my website as well.
Yeah, we'll get to that question real quick, but regarding the videos, right? So, and the SEO, right? When Brett Menzel mentioned the Google juice, right? So in Zap, some of you are familiar with, like, gosh, I'm limited to the one video on our screen on our website. Yeah. With Moxie websites, you have everything from a 5-click or so, don't quote me on the number of clicks, template, and you create your website, to the complete opposite, where it's totally customized and basically sky's the limit, because it's based on WordPress and you can customize all these pages, right? So that means multiple videos if you'd like. And that means, since you're uploading to YouTube and you have all these videos on your website and Google owns YouTube, they're saying, oh, this is a pretty cool website because we want to promote basically YouTube. So in essence, increasing that SEO, right? That search engine optimization for your particular website, right? We don't know if that's like there's a formula for SEO. Nobody really knows, right? But you can probably sense that if your website has multiple videos, it's probably going to rank higher than, let's say, a website that doesn't. Brett, maybe you want to answer that question or address it. Angie, what was the question regarding Engage? Okay, so Engage and MoxiPresent, how do they kind of tie it together. You can kind of at a high
Yeah,
level.
I talked a little bit about that when I was doing the presentation, but
Yep.
basically, your engage, contact, sync over with present. So when you're going to send things to people, it does that. There's also some calls to action that are created in tasks, which are related to present. So sending a buyer tour, for example, or create a buyer tour for this prospect, create a CMA, whatever it may be. So, there is some cross functionality between those. As well as between Engage and websites as well. So we basically built everything to work well together. That's really kind of the cloud-based. The one exception that we're actually currently still working on a bit is Moxie Impress, because that is we purchased Imprev about a year and a half ago. So because that's not something that we developed in-house, it is a little bit more of a silo right now, but we continue to work to try to bring in Impress into more of the suite. It works great on its own, but we want everything to work well together and have data flow through the whole thing.
Excellent. Other questions, Angie, before I just kind of wrap things up, and if you can kind of post the survey link into chat, that'd be great as I just kind of finish up. I just want to make sure everybody understood, especially our newbies on our call. In addition to that success portal, right? Otherwise known as, hopefully everybody remembers and memorized it, support.moxieworks.com. Each and every one of you on this call has all the resources available by your brand's university, which is a huge, because it's all custom content. Okay, so all you have to do is go to your brand portal, your learning library, you can see at the bottom left-hand side of the screen, and then type in Moxie on your screen right here in that little input box. And all those resources, self-paced videos, content, all of the like are going to be available to you for all the different modules. Okay, so it's huge. For your leadership team, instructors, right? There's instructor leadership team tabs where most likely the people on this call who are product champions, you already know about that. Okay, but you as an agent, you have all this information, right? Getting started guides, again, self-paced e-learning courses, video links, things like that. Questions, if you would like, we have a few minutes left, so you can unmute yourself, and then Angie, were you able to copy that link of our survey into chat? What we'd like to do with the survey is, let us know how you feel about our MoxiWorks hours, where we may have missed the mark, or what you found valuable. Any feedback we really appreciate, so that we can tailor accordingly on future sessions and make them much more impactful, much more beneficial to our audience.
Alex, there is a comment in the chat that asks, can you post the topics of future Moxie hours? I didn't know if you wanted to speak to that.
Very good. Topics, yeah, we can include that. Actually, great suggestion. I'll make that a point to add that to the follow-up email. Yes. So when you register, number one, you will get a list of the topics, yes, of upcoming sessions. But as a follow-up email, if you already registered and you forget, okay, what's next week, so to speak, I will add that. Very good suggestion. So I'm going to add topics in follow-up email. Very good. Thank you very much. Anything else? Yes. Oh, yeah, Christine, you're absolutely right. I was actually thinking about that. Christine Farley, excellent suggestion, because I got them all listed by dates, right? But I don't classify them so that, okay, that one's on, like that included a Matterport in iframe thing. Yeah, you're right. We will definitely include that suggestion. Very good. Maybe I only had the dates, not topics. Yes, Joan, just like Christine Farley's mentioned, I got some work to do, right? So I got to do those videos, and of course, it's a lot better when we're able to kind of add a little bit of topic information on those video links that I send out as part of the email follow-up, because I just have them on dates, right? And just listed in reverse chronological order. But thank you all for the feedback. Other questions? Anybody else? Doesn't have to be on MoxiPresent or Moxie Engage or websites. It could be on other things. Other questions? Topics? Brett, any last words of wisdom?
No, I want to appreciate everybody coming up with great questions. It's really, really helpful for us. And I'm really excited for you guys to see what we have coming for Engage. I think we picked some great topics to help you guys get started, where we cover the hows, of course, but we're also talking a lot about the whys. You know, this is why you want to use this to do more business, et cetera.
Yeah.
So Jen did ask about an app. We get asked about this a lot. We actually had an app years ago, but we discontinued it. The decision was made to keep it a browser-based product for a couple of reasons. Number one was we heard from agents who were getting ready to go and have a presentation, but they were out in the middle of nowhere and they had no signal, couldn't update their app. So they were running into problems with that, or where you kind of need a weaker signal to be able to use the web browser instead of an app. The other reason is just development. We found that by developing for two platforms, it took away resources that we could use for developing just for the web-based, because now with people using cell phones and everything else, it just wasn't needed. So no, we do not have an app, and there are no plans to have one come back.
Yeah, also to kind of reiterate a pro tip that Brett mentioned regarding neighborhood news. If you're an agent that is new to the MoxiWorks platform, you're not really the technical expert person on these websites or CRMs or anything of that nature. Look into neighborhood news, because that's an automatic like input screen on your website that all you need, like Brent mentioned, first name, last name, email address, and a zip code that you can also enter for that customer that walks into that open house. From there, they are going to get an automatic monthly drip campaign customized and branded to you without you even remembering you set them up. Amazing tool with all these beautiful charts and graphs and information that's local to that particular zip code. Automatically. No, I don't think any other CRM does that. Okay, so what I'm just trying to say here, the takeaway is just that one tool is amazing. Neighborhood news, if you're not familiar, if you're like, what is he talking about? What am I going to ask you to do? Go to support.moxieworks.com, type in neighborhood news, and then you're going to get a lot of resources regarding that. It's a golden nugget for all of you to leverage. It's a great feature, just like Joan said. Yes, some of you are like, what's that? Right? Some of our agents are using that input screen, name, first name, last name, email address, and zip code as their open house type intake form, so to speak, instead of the yellow pad piece of paper, right? Where they're going to give you bogus information anyways, but they're using that. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, would you mind just signing into my tablet or my iPhone or right? With your name, first name, and you're going to get local information every month automatically based on that zip code that you enter. Amazing feature. Okay. And hopefully everybody takes advantage of that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Brett, for the words of wisdom. Thank you, Angie, for doing such a great job with the chat. Be on the lookout for the email follow-up with the recording links. And hopefully I have some time and energy to add the topics of each one of those calls. And then hopefully everybody has had an opportunity to fill out that, I think it's a 3-question survey. Until next time, our next session is going to be 2 weeks from now. Okay. So thank you all and stay safe and happy selling. Talk to you later.